We're live again here with the one and only legendary Bob Jacobs. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So we work together at the A's. Of course, me being one of the non-union scabs. And of course, you and your union self.
Yeah, well, you were up in the office with administrative work, correct?
Well, we like to call it the ivory tower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the part that's behind all the electric fencing that you can't go by.
Right.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I started in 1963 when I was 14 years old. Went out to Candlestick Park. I had two cousins. One became a doctor, the other engineer. I'm the only Lulu who stayed in the business. But the doctor went out to Seal Stadium, John Gilman, in 1958, and ran into a gentleman named Bill Cassidy and said, I'm looking for work for the ballpark when the Giants come here from New York. He said, come on out opening day. We'll put you on soda or peanuts or ice cream, something of that nature. So that was my oldest cousin, John Gilman. He's 80 years old today.
Happy birthday, John.
Yeah, no. Well, retired doctor.
Oh, wow.
He got my next cousin, Larry Glickfield, went to Cal, was number one in his class in high school. Very intelligent young man. He vended, and then they gave me a call and said, come on out. I lived in the peninsula south of Candlestick and went out there and started vending in 1963. I think I made $14 the first day.
Wow. So you were here as long as the Giants were here in California?
No, the Giants came out in 58.
Oh, 58.
I mean, I've been in the area, but I didn't start till I was 14, which was 1963.
Oh, where did the Giants play before Seal Stadium?
New York.
In New York?
Polo Grounds. The Dodgers came from Brooklyn and went to L.A. Giants came from Polo Grounds, bingo, and went to San Francisco.
Why did they come out here? Were they just kind of forced out by
money?
The Yankees?
Money talks, bullshit walks.
That was a Yankees area, and they wanted to get out of it.
They weren't drawing.
Yeah,
and I think the O'Malley family really saw the future somewhat. A lot of money in Los Angeles, beautiful weather, and it's been quite a success story.
Yeah, I mean, can't beat it, right? Other than, that market though in New York, that had to be a hell of a decision to leave it.
Yeah, I would think with three teams. I mean, you had Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snider at one time in New York.
God, that's like a Mount Rushmore. That's a legendary lineup right there.
Yeah.
So when you started, what was it like? Like you started brand new Seal Stadium, first time the Giants were there?
Candlestick Park.
You started at Candlestick.
Yeah.
Oh, when the Giants
Candlestick
came from
was
Seal
built,
Stadium.
I believe, in 1960 was the first year for Candlestick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
And I went out there in 63. I'd have to get a work permit from school. Couldn't work some night games or couldn't work after 10 o'clock, had to check in, all kinds of rules like that, against child labor.
Couldn't sell beer?
No. Had to be 21. And actually, to go off on another tangent, the cream of the crop in those days, as you progressed in vending, was selling hot dogs. And that was the number one item if you were not 21 before selling beer. You made more money selling hot dogs day in and day out than you did any other item.
Oh, I
Peanuts,
imagine.
Novelties, soda, ice cream. Hot dogs was the deal.
Everyone gets a hot dog at the ballpark. It's in the song.
Yeah, and they were 30 cents at the time when I first started on hot dogs, and then they became 35 cents. And it was an art.
Yeah.
Selling hot dogs was almost an athletic event.
Because you had to put the mustard and the ketchup on for them?
In the old days, that's what you did. Later on, the health ordinance, whatever, came around, and they had to be pre-wrapped. You could not put your hands on them. But when I sold hot dogs in the old days, and nobody got sick.
Yeah.
You had to get your load, from a guy named Bob the cook in 313. And I guess I can brag a little. I was quite good at it. And when you came into work in the morning, you wanted 313, you had to have the red tickets to get hot dogs. So I come in, and every day they'd had them waiting for me. Rich Cadena gave you your assignment. He said, those are for Jake. 313. Well, 313 was the best location. Bob the cook used to get my loads. Okay, you go in, you go, Bob, I need a double. That'd be 120 hot dogs. He'd perspire prolifically, and he'd be cutting the hot dogs. He goes, Jacobs, you're good, but I don't know if you'd beat Cooper. I'll tell you about Cooper a little later. So anyway, you go out and vend. I used to walk down the stairs backwards. Well, you had to get the bun. You had to get the meat. You had to get the mustard. You had to get the napkin. And it was boom, 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 boom. One time I go down behind the dugout on the first base side. I'm making hot dogs. The guy goes, 1.7. 1.3. What do you? He goes, we time you, buddy. You're the quickest. We time you. I'm like 16 years old,
They timed you putting the hot dogs together?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when I came down to their section.
Oh.
And one thing I'd like to do is I would try to stay as close to home as possible. In other words, where the checkout is, 313. And a lot of the other guys would be real busy. They go, oh, it's unbelievable down by first base. Well, okay, go ahead, fellas. I got this area. Of course, there's times when they weren't selling. If it's a hot day, hot dogs aren't moving, then you'd have to expand your area. But anyway, I would come into the checkout, 313 with Bob the cook, the one I referred to earlier, who perspires quite a bit. He's cutting up my load. I need 120 would be a double as opposed to a single. He goes, you're good, Jacobs, but I don't know if you'd beat Cooper. Well, Cooper, as it turns out, used to vend with my cousin, who became the doctor. He's 80 years old today, Cooper. And about 6-7 years ago, I'm selling novelties at Giants on section 125. My cousin comes up. And he goes, how you doing? I go, hey, Dr. Gilman, how are you, John? Good. He says, this is Cooper. I shake his hand. I go, are you Cooper, the one who sold hot dogs at the ball game? He goes, I sure am. I said, you remember those days? He goes, what, are you kidding? I said, well, I used to go in and get hot dogs. I said, you remember Bob the cook? He goes, of course, Bob the cook, yeah. I said, well, he used to say, Jake, you're good, but I don't know if you beat Cooper. And before I could almost finish, he goes, I would have kicked your ass. And here's a guy who's a retired attorney, and he still remembers being a kid and selling hot dogs.
God, I can only imagine you guys looking at each other in the eye, trying to just break each other's grip, break each other's hands with dead in the eye rivalry.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was really funny that, because I knew he was a retired attorney, very successful,
So when you had, you had to have the relish. You had to have, did they have onions too?
We didn't have relish. We didn't have onions.
Okay. So
we
you
had
kept
the
it simple.
Golden's mustard.
Okay. Just mustard, ketchup?
No.
No.
And making change was another thing. I wore aprons.
Yeah.
I had 2 aprons, blue aprons, quarters, dimes, nickels. All the other guys had a changer. Tuesday, so pound for pound, he doesn't have a changer.
The changers are like the little thing where you push the button and a quarter comes out?
In the old days, yeah.
Wow. A lot of people probably won't even know what that looks like.
That's true. It's very true.
Wow.
Another little anecdote, if you don't mind me taking off here a
Please,
little bit.
this is what we're here for. We're here to get caught in the moment.
Well, Bob and I, in the old days, we vended everywhere. And we went in Cal, Stanford, Stanford and Cal especially, in the older stadiums. Back in the day, you'd take your car. You'd drive it around the perimeter of the stadium to get to your concession stand. Okay, well, it's a dirt road. Well, everybody brought in their own product.
Sure.
You know, guys were bringing in hot dogs and buns, you know, and make some extra money on the side. Well, there's two gentlemen who are long gone, who I worked the Cow Palace with, who told me this story. Joe Vino, Fred Harper, to authenticate it, to give you the names. They get down there, opening day at Stanford for a football game. They got one of the concession stands up off the dirt road. You drive your car around, you unload. Get up there, they open up the cooker. Loaded with ants.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God, what are we going to do? And Joe Vino's sister, well, we're not going to clean it. Pour the water in there and put the meats in. Let's go. Fred Harper does it. He pours the junk in there. He got the hot dogs cooked. Hey, he's a regular day at the ballpark. Stanford opening day. Gives out a hot dog. Guy comes back 5 minutes later, says, that was excellent. Let me have another one. Gets it. He takes one bite. He goes, what the hell is this? I want the one with the hot peppers.
Oh.
It was all dead ants.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask you.
He didn't get enough on the second hot dog.
Oh, yee. Well, I mean, that's kind of when, we were all drinking from garden hoses back then, and we were all pretty immune to everything.
Absolutely.
Going around,
Yeah.
God, all the spicy ones. Wow. You think some of them may have been alive?
I have no clue.
Because, they're extra spicy if they start biting.
I can imagine.
Wow. So, take us through, it's obviously changed a lot, right? So from when you started to when I was there with you guys.
It's like any other business. It's expanded tremendously. This company we work for now is huge.
Yeah.
The CEO has what they call the white party in the Hamptons every year.
Oh, are we all invited?
No, not yet. But this iPod or whatever this thing's called, what's this called?
This is called a podcast.
Podcast. Yeah. If this gets any bigger, you'll be in there.
Yeah?
Yeah. You can take your director.
Well, I'm taking you all straight to the top with me.
Okay.
Promise. We'll all be sipping margaritas and actually, I have a couple margaritas here for you. Actually.
Oh, you give me one of those, I probably would never shut up.
Oh, yeah. Let's give him a margarita.
It's a little early.
We'll give you a couple minutes to settle in.
No salt.
Well, this is nothing fancy. These are just the ones in the cans here.
I got it.
That way there's no ants that gets in there.
I hope not.
Less spicy that way.
Yeah.
When you when you worked at the Cow Palace, do you know anything about the popcorn?
No.
Not
at all.
Because I talked to Bob about this last time when he was on. Pete used to, Pete.
Marino?
No, but he was the GM there, and he used to freeze the popcorn and then resell it. Still good.
Never sold food there.
Oh, no? Only merch?
Only merch.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
First show was 1976, Elvis Presley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2 days of that made $400, $200 a day, which was quite lucrative for that time.
Yeah.
1976 cash. Very few T-shirts. We didn't sell T-shirts. It was more like, novelties. Programs were a big item. In fact, as we progressed in the rock, as it got bigger and bigger, it was quite a meal ticket. Groups like Neil Diamond, who was a country western singer with Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. Shows like that were not that big. We would sell mostly programs. But the heavy rock, we would sell mostly shirts. And they were very good. The biggest show I ever worked was Prince, 5 nights.
Oh, I would have loved to see Prince.
Yeah, it was a tremendous show. We don't see it. We don't see the show.
Yeah. He played for 5 nights?
5 nights, I believe it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like? You guys you must have had to go home, sleep for 2 hours, come back.
We got more sleep than that. I actually was married at the time. My wife worked at Wells Fargo Bank, and we needed singles and 5s every day. So, at the beginning of the show, I called her and asked her if that was possible to arrange. She said yes. So I got to come in a little later than the others because I had to go to the bank and pick up a bank, so to speak, to make change. But the most interesting thing about Prince from working there, from our perspective, we had 2 stands at the front of the building. We had side stands. I worked the busiest location. I think we were like 6 of us. And they opened the doors, 6 o'clock, whatever it was, and mobbed. And lots of young girls wearing lingerie.
Oh, no.
Yes. And you would turn around to get the first shirt of the night, and you look up, and you were 6 deep. And they would just, you go as fast as you can go. Music started, gone.
Oh, yeah.
Intermission came, they're back. Music started, they're gone. Show's over, they're back.
Yeah.
So that was interesting with Prince. They were there to hear the music, but they bought a lot of shirts.
You know, that's kind of, I mean, for a lot of the concerts that we had at Levi's, it was kind of like that too. We had like One Direction. It was kind of like a little, like a teeny bopper band kind of, you know, and all the kids, all the girls got like a certain allowance, right? And it's like, my mom gave me $60. What should I buy? Because they've got to use all that 60, right? And then the moms come up there and they're like, okay, we'll get one of these and one of these, one of these. And they drop all kinds of money at those kind of like at the shows like that, you know?
When did you work there?
At Levi's, probably that was probably 2017, I think. Came to, of course, Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course had to get a tetanus shot. Have you ever, so a lot of people who have been to the Coliseum, when you walk across, sometimes you there's like these little bubbles in the asphalt there.
Yeah.
You ever just want to pop them like a zit? Just, you know, it bugs me sometimes. I step on it and it just like it goes back to its original shape. I just want to just cut that thing.
I haven't experienced that.
Probably just something in me.
Yeah, I believe so.
Let's bring it back. So at what point did you leave there and go to the A's, or were you doing both?
I started doing both in '68 when the A's came out here, when they first started. I wasn't in retail. I was selling food. Actually started getting ready to start on beer. You know, I would another year and I would be going on beer, which was a little more lucrative than hot dogs. And over there, we actually had colossal dogs as well, where you put sauerkraut on it and things of that nature.
Oh, so you had to carry extra stuff around.
Yeah. But it was, you know, Oakland was always the lesser of the two. You know, Oakland was kind of you work in the A's. Well, you know, later on when you came around and when Bob and I became partners, retail, we had a period of time where Oakland was better than the Giants. So,
Was that in the around that World Series time, late 80s maybe?
Yes. When they didn't go to the World Series, but 89 was pretty much insane for all of us.
Yeah.
Bob was actually running Stevens and the retail in '89, but vending in Oakland. And I guess I can use some numbers now. It's so old. But the first game, I think our location total, we did $72,000 on a 5-way split, at 20%. So that was a lot of money. It was like over $3,000 for the first game. We had in Oakland, the day before, we had a rally. I opened up with one other gentleman, Dennis, and we took in 10 grand. Well, we were getting 20%, made $1,000, 1989. Then the next night was the game, the first game. Dennis and I were out in the ticket booth. They weren't selling any tickets. They were already sold. So we worked there. All that money that we took in out there combined with the booth inside, okay, where they had 3 guys, and then we closed up, came in and worked during the game there, and then went outside to the ticket booth for the blow-off, as we call it after the game. And that was extremely lucrative in Oakland. And then we had 3 days of that, then we went to, or 2 days, and then we went over to Candlestick. And then we had the earthquake.
Yeah.
So we were, and At Giants, I forget my numbers, but I think I did $39,000 in 2 locations. We had 4 people working. We had a stand outside B gate, I think it was, and we were inside. We had 4 people, 2 and 2. And we took in $39,000 with no gain.
Yeah, because they had to shut it down, right?
They had to shut it down. We were on our way to doing better than Oakland.
How far in did that game get to where they had to shut it down?
I don't think the game started.
Oh, it didn't?
No, that was in pregame.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So then when did they postpone the game until? They just had it at Oakland?
It took a while, but they restarted like about 10 days later, but it was never the same.
Yeah.
You know, it really affected that World Series, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Yeah.
To have the earthquake where basically the market that both those teams are in.
Yeah, it was, you know, for us, it was nirvana. I mean, I actually couldn't get home that night because I live in the East Bay. Bay Bridge was down.
Yeah.
So I called my sister who lives on the peninsula. Can I stay at your place? Sure can. I got down there. She said, are you all right? I go, what? She goes, you're skin and bones. I go, I don't have time to eat. All I'm doing is working. I mean, you know, but we were young, and it was quite lucrative at that time. So, you know, 20%. In fact, some people think that was the beginning of the end of the 20%. Oh. Because the A's, the Haas family, who were fabulous for us, said, you guys are making more than people in the front office, and it's not warranted. And they came after us, as did Bill Graham in the rock shows. We used to get 20% cash at the rock shows, and that was a lot of money also.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where they started having like the big concert promoters come in, right? Like Live Nation, all these guys, and they needed a big cut.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really good point.
I mean, concerts were always really, really stressful.
Yes.
You know, and it's just like you get all the stuff in and you count it in and it's not right. And then later on you're bickering about who owes how many dollars for 30 shirts that are missing or 10 shirts that are missing, you know, and it's just like, I remember we had, it was a country concert at Levi's, and there was Kenny Chesney and a couple of other country bands. And there was this band called Florida Georgia Line. And they were all about like, make sure our shirts are right. Make sure all the counts are right. You only gave 10 shirts. And you have 10 shirts to take home now. Nobody wanted any. Nobody bought any. You know, like they came to see Kenny Chesney, not
right.
whoever you say you are.
Yeah.
You know, and there was all kinds of like people like stomping their feet around. Well, why you didn't market it very well? It was right out there. It was front and center, you know? Yeah. And then you have because at Levi's it was a huge production, right? So we had a back-to-back concert for Grateful Dead. And man, it was cool because, you know, I mean, you didn't see Jerry Garcia there, right? He was long gone. But, you know, the songs were there, and the songs are still good, but they had all these people come from all over the country, right? In their RVs and what have you. And they're all camping on the way, right? And you get into Levi's and it just stinks like body odor. Just, man.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then everybody brings their dogs out. And I think I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but everybody brought their dogs out from all these places in the country. Well, what are you going to do with your dog when you're watching the concert? You're just going to leave it in the parking lot, leave it in the car, right? That's what they did. So animal control came, busted like 70 windows. We had dogs running all over the place.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
That's a better story than I have.
I mean, and it's just like all these, the smell. I won't forget the smell.
Really?
You know, yeah, the smell and the dogs. You know, you think it's the music and, you know, it's a good
Did you
time.
sell a lot of shirts? Do you recall?
There was a lot sold, yeah. But it was one of those where it's a back-to-back. So it's the first day you work what I call a 26-hour day. You know, you get there at 6 a.m. and you leave at 8 a.m. the long way, and you come back and you're all beat. You're like, 6 hours of downtime, right? So that's 6 hours including the commute time.
That was at Levi.
Yeah.
So relatively
pretty short ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's changed drastically because all those people that were deadheads when they were younger had no money.
Yeah.
And we hated working the dead because they played at 3, 4 in the morning and they'd all be dancing around their tie-dye, not selling any shirts.
Mm-hmm.
The only time we made a little bit of money was when we were at Oakland Auditorium or Civic and we were selling food as opposed to selling shirts. But now they've all grown up and a lot of them have money and they buy now.
Probably would have made more money when we were selling deodorant.
There you go.
Or access to the showers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a couple things like that I look back on and I kind of do miss because when you work around this kind of group, and you probably know this, you've worked around these people for close to 50 years. And you develop this kind of camaraderie, right? Where you're in the trenches together and you guys trust each other. And with any other job that I've had, not like that at all.
No.
But these people that I opened, that we closed Candlestick with, that we opened Levi's with, and everything like that. I mean, I'm still friends with them to this day, even though I'm not in the business anymore,
Really?
Well, you're here, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true. You communicate with John Handy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he actually sent me some choice pictures from back in the day when you started. Yeah, so I'll show you after the show, and we'll try and put them on the. We'll add them to the post production for the video.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's crazy. Like nobody has that kind of longevity in any job, in any career. Like
I do.
Well, yeah, you do. But
there's quite a few vendors, actually. My partner at Giants is 76 years old.
Yeah.
Don Giusti is probably 70 now. Yeah. It's just, it gets in your blood. And like I said, money was pretty damn good there for the 70s and 80s with rock, and then the Giants being successful, the Niners. And, each venue and each event, they're all different. Mm-hmm. They're all different. The Raiders, very tough to work. You'd have to take your A's stand apart. You'd have to set up the Raiders stand. We would make $300 to $400, which for a baseball game was decent at that time. But for football, you're working 10 dates, 8 plus 2 practice games, exhibition games. Well, not that good. Niners, we were making $900 to $1,000 a game. And so... the Raiders we didn't care for. We really turned off on them, the people that were in the business, because of all the extra work we had to do. And it wasn't physically easy at all. And plus, you'd have to find a day between the Giants and A's to come over and reset the stand back to Oakland A's from Oakland Raiders. So it was actually a pain in the ass, so to speak.
Yeah, way more work than it's worth. And
it reflects on your attitude towards the fans and things.
Oh yeah,
when you're not doing that well, you don't enjoy it that much. And that was really one of the first venues I gave up.
Oh yeah,
yeah. As I was getting older, I said I'm going to cut the Raiders loose. And Niners, I don't know. This could get me in trouble, but maybe the statute of limitations has expired. But we used to have a stand in the parking lot. And the person I work with is greedier than I am. And we went down there and they gave us a trailer. And we saw this trailer and it was, it stunk, as you would say. It reminded you of
Grateful Dead.
The Grateful Dead. And we said, the hell with this. And we set up outside the trailer. We did pretty good the first day. We were really surprised. The only way you know if you're doing good or not is relative to other locations. And we did well. Well, they said, we're going to get you a tent. This is the 49ers, not the concession company. The Niners watching it themselves because they're in on it, they get a percentage of the action. They got us a tent, and they got us a bigger tent, and they got us a bigger tent. Anyway, we were out in the parking lot. It was quite large. My partner would leave me alone during the come-in, which is the most, your busiest time.
That's insane.
No question. And he'd go set up a little satellite stand, take in more money. I would literally, and of course I was younger, would jog at times to get an item. A guy wants a Spooner Hawaiian shirt. I mean, we are so busy. We are doing so well. And this is where I might get myself in trouble, but I'll go ahead and do it. What the hell?
We can always edit it out.
Yeah.
If it gets too bad.
We used to go shopping.
Oh, yeah.
I used to go to Ross. They would have 3X and 4X jerseys that the stores couldn't get rid of. They ended up with them. They were like $29. I can't remember what we were selling them for at the time, but $125. We're in the parking lot, for Christ's sake. We drive in his Mercedes, my partner's Mercedes, and we had some extra items. We were making over $1,000 on commission, and then we had a bonus. We'd make another $300 or $400. And not only our location, but everybody at 49ers jacked up prices. Mm-hmm. Okay, if things were $15, they sold them for $17. It was just one thing. But baseball, you would not do that.
Yeah.
You're there on a daily. Football is a much bigger venue. It's loaded with people. Mm-hmm. We're out there by the men's temporary toilets all over, and it got a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
production.
Fun.
It's a huge production every game. It's just, and it's like people that I've heard that have worked baseball or football. It's that baseball is a long marathon, and football is a sprint.
Absolutely.
You get that?
Every game's intense.
Mm-hmm. And you have just that amount of time to sell to what would be like sometimes 10 times the amount of fans at a football game versus a baseball game. We're talking, current 49er game versus current A's game. But like it's so different. And then you get the people that do like basketball and hockey that it's pretty much an even keel. It's kind of like right in the middle of baseball and football as far as how busy they are, But it's, man, to be there during those times where it was kind of like, you could kind of get away with a lot, like open up your own satellite stand. And
well, they knew about that. That was not anything illegal or anything. We, just if they didn't like it, they would have said, no, we want both of you here. Mm-hmm. And as we progressed and as it did get busier, we see that was eliminated. Yeah. They put a stand there themselves. Yeah. The 49ers, and he stayed with me.
Well, because you guys were on commission, like you were on the same page as the team, right? You want to maximize the profits rather than just sit in front of a register and wait for people to come.
Yeah. And plus in the business, one thing that people don't understand is time is money. Mm-hmm. I mean, when the last guy strikes out and the game's over, you're not making money anymore, okay? It's not like you have a store like Macy's or Nordstrom's and people can come in at all hours. We only made money when, the ball game was on. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing you have to weigh when you're waiting on people. You want to be courteous. You want to take care of your clients. But you can't sit there and hold somebody's hand when you have 95 items behind you and the place is packed and people wanting to buy, and somebody's looking at, a $5 visor on special, and he says, let me see the yellow one, let me see the green one, Mm-hmm. Once in a while you have to be somewhat curt. It's, you have to weigh the options. And sometimes you blow it, Sometimes they get upset, and sometimes you're about to blow somebody away, and the guy ends up spending $300 or $400. You go, that was a close one.
Yeah.
But it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking by your guys' stand a couple times, and I felt that I was like, man, this guy better buy something, or he better just get his hot dog and walk away.
Well, Bob and I we really enjoyed Oakland, much more than working Giants.
Oh yeah,
for some reason, and Bob used to get there early, get the stock. I'd get a phone call driving in almost invariably. Where are you? I go, well, I'll have to tell this guy in front of me I'm the CEO for stand 125. Maybe he'll let me through. But I said, I'll be there, and we would get quite a bit of stock. And that was quite a location. We did very well there, really. And we enjoyed the whole routine, basically.
Yeah, I've noticed that, like, in baseball, you have, especially during those day games, a lot of times on weekdays, you have these people come in that are like, they're always there. You know, they're there every game, and then they're like, hey, look at this vest I knitted. You know, like they knitted themselves an A's vest or something like that. And so that's something you don't really ever get at football. You don't get that at anything else except for a baseball game during the day on a weekend or a weekday. You know?
Well, the A's is essentially, they kind of had a group of hardcore fans. You know, like we still see some of them. They come up with that girl, I'm going to go visit Gino. I go, Gino? Who's Gino? I can't even tell you who it is now. I think last name was Gonzalez. She still visits the players. She'll be around probably Giants to see Melvin. You know, and she's just a reflection of, like, there's a woman who lives up here. We call her Sacramento. You know, just into the Oakland A's. That's one of the most important things in their lives. But
yeah,
and you don't notice that. I'm sure there's some Giant fans like that, but we don't notice it.
it's too packed. There's so many people.
It's too many locations and too many people. Oakland's much more quaint in that respect.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little more like a family thing a little bit.
Yeah, and it's too bad that, you know, they're going to Las Vegas because you're going to lose all of that. You know, like, I don't
If they go.
You think they won't?
If I had to bet money on it, yes, I think they will. But it's not a done deal. They're getting criticized tremendously at this point by a lot of different people. This guy who just retired, what's the player's name? May. He just retired, and he's ripping Fisher. The mayor down in Vegas said, you know, she backpedaled on it, but said that I don't know what the hell they're doing. They picked an area with 9.5 acres. They got to wait for the Tropicana to destroy itself, and then they can start. They haven't started yet. They haven't put a shovel in the ground. They could have had another area with 30.5 acres. You know, they want to put a dome in Vegas.
Yeah.
And now their options are Coliseum, which I think Fisher would prefer, but the mayor of Oakland is so upset with the way they handled previous negotiations that she never heard from him. At least this is what I've read. I haven't been told this. But what I've read is that he never talked to her until he said, we're going to Vegas, basically. She was very upset with that. So now she's making some very unmeetable demands. She wants to keep the name Oakland A's in Oakland and get an expansion team if they stay here between now and 2027. Okay? Their other alternatives are Sacramento, minor league ballpark, or Salt Lake City. If I had to bet on one of those three, I'd go Sacramento.
Yeah.
That said, players, and I don't know if it's the players' union, but I believe players have the right to say, we don't want it. We don't want to play in a minor league ballpark.
Oh.
And they can kill that. So there's still problems. This guy is not smooth.
Yeah, but the River Cats ballpark is actually it's pretty big for
It's enough for the A's.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But if the players don't want to play in a minor league park, that's irrelevant. You know, they'll say we don't want to play in it.
Yeah, I remember maybe it was a couple years ago, and maybe the talks have died from it, but they were talking about San Jose as well.
I haven't heard that lately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like I said, that's probably nixed already. But
Don't know.
You know, when you move to like somewhere that's like a Las Vegas, or even to a lesser extent, I guess like LA, you lose that kind of small market feel.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and that's what made baseball for me. Like, because I really, you may remember, I was like counting down the games till the end of the season because there was just so many. And I came from football where you have 10, 8, and then 2 preseason. And now it's like, it's literally 10 times pretty much. And it's just a 10-game homestand? You mean a 10-day a week? you know, then it's just it was a lot of cold water to throw on my head.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a long season, no question.
But one thing that did stand out to me that it was like, oh wow, that is super cool is the small market feel. Those people that you're talking about that, you know, they go and they know the vendors' names. They sit in the same spot. When they get there, they don't go to their seats. They go make a lap around the Coliseum. They say hi. They say, "Oh, well, this is new." And they talk. "Oh, I didn't know you guys had ice cream here." You know, like things like that. It's just, and it's a good place to take kids. You know, I've taken my daughter there a couple times.
Yeah, it's more of a family atmosphere. We have a lot more kids. Per cap in Oakland.
Yeah.
Interesting anecdote. There used to be a woman who came out there every game, very well dressed, very attractive older woman, and just, you know, her clothing and things. She looked kind of like she had money. And I became friends with her. She'd be, you know, come by the booth every day. This is quite a few years ago when Giambi was with the team. And I said, you know, you really look like you should be a Giants fan. You're way too sophisticated for this crowd. And so, you know, we would banter back and forth, say hello to each other. And it was during the time that Jason Giambi was on the A's team and his brother. And Jason... is that the star? Is it Jason or Jeremy? I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah, Jason Giambi?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the man.
Okay, he had a very attractive, very endowed blonde wife. And there was a couple years previous to the story I'm leading up to, she stopped showing up. Well, then the brother joined the team, and on the opening day, the parents came to our booth. And they said, whatever you have for Giambi, we'll take. So I'm getting quite a bit of stuff. It's a large sale. I said, are you related? They said, yeah, we're his parents. And, you know, we talked, you know, it was a big sale. I was giving my undivided attention. I said, can I ask you a personal question, if you don't mind? Father said, go ahead. You know, obviously, if he didn't like it, he wouldn't answer. I said, what happened to the blonde? And he said, they got divorced. I go, okay. Well, this lady comes in, the one who's sophisticated and very well dressed later on that day or another day, I can't actually recall, and call her over and say, hey, you want to hear some gossip about the A's? I tell her. I said, yeah, Giambi, he got divorced. That's why we don't see the blonde anymore. She says, I've got to tell my niece. She's absolutely stunning, and she loves Giambi. She told him. She told her. They got married.
No shit.
Yes, no shit. They got married, and they're still married today.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at you playing Cupid. Wow.
It was just, it was something, you know. And somebody like that, somewhat sad, she's obviously gone.
Yeah.
And there's fans all the time that we go, oh, we haven't seen him. Oh, we haven't seen her. And, you know, they come and they go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's when, you know, I hate to say it, but when you guys are gone, that's going to be kind of like the end of an era, you know? It's.
Yeah, well, there's new ones on in the wings.
Is there?
Oh, they're doing really well.
Yeah?
Bob, tell you anything about the beer sales? Oh, beer has exploded now.
I bet.
Yeah, they don't have to pop it and pour like we used to. I sold beer for 65, 85 cents. I think they sell them for $18. They get tips. You know, they all carry a credit card machine. Mm-hmm. It's because COVID has changed our business in that respect. Everything's credit card.
Yeah, no cash. Bob was saying that last time.
Yeah, and that was a result of COVID.
Yeah.
Because, you know, obviously when you use a credit card, you lose 3% off the top or whatever the percentage the Visa, MasterCard, what have you, are getting now. Mm-hmm. And I think the companies found out we don't have to have a bank for all these different locations. I mean, you know, Giants, I mean, how many locations are there selling food for Game and Oracle? Plus, you have to have all these people who count that money. You have to have all the people who collect that money, which are retired law enforcement for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you had theft with cash. much more so than you will now. And, this was all done for sanitary reasons during COVID. Well, we got to go to credit card. We can't have all these people handling money. And the companies found out, and they go, no more cash. Mm-hmm. Well, as a result, at the same time, pretty much, beer came back. They got these guys vending beer. And beer's like $18 a pop. And they're getting tips.
So they don't have to pop it and pour it. They just hand you a
it to
beer?
them.
No opening?
No.
Really?
I don't know if they pop it open. They probably open it. But, we used to have bottles. Oh. Well, you can't hand out bottles, For safety reasons. We popped and poured into paper cups.
Wow.
And nowadays, it's become quite lucrative. These guys who sell novelties, retail, on commission at Giants, when the Warriors are home and they can sell beer at Chase, they prefer to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're all too old and we're not in on that. Although I used to work the arena in Oakland. I worked for the Warriors, and I sold beer there for many years, and I sold retail there for many years. So,
yeah, I when I started in sports at all, I started at Candlestick at the cash room and at the cash room at the Cow Palace. And
really?
Yeah, and I remember because this is back when I think that camera is dead.
It just died.
But I think so. When I got there, this was when you could still the law enforcement guys could still carry guns. They were still strapped.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, here I am in the cash room, and I am literally holding $500,000 in $100 bills all stacked up in my hands. I'm like, oh God. Like, oh, if there wasn't a bunch of law enforcement people with guns outside, that's tempting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tempting for anyone, even somebody who is super, even keeled, super honest. Anything, you hold $500,000, you give anyone $500,000 to hold in their hands.
That's a lot of money.
And it's just, I mean, I can imagine it makes sense why they would go to credit, because not only the sanitation, but the, that kind of.
Well, it's more lucrative. It's more lucrative. The people, they don't have to pay to work.
Yeah.
And you don't have the theft.
Yeah.
Like we're saying.
Yeah. It's, we're going to time out. Do we want to change that battery? Okay.
Just do all three.
All right. Time out. Ready to saddled up?
Not much to say. I told you everything last time.
Yeah, there's not that much to say.
That's what you guys think, but, there's really a lot to say.
There's a lot of history there.
Yeah. Everybody goes to sports. Everybody,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know everybody goes because we have a couple expressions in the business, which I believe I started, but I'm not sure. That's my claim to fame.
Let's hear them.
We get a lot of public, okay? Everybody who seems to work with the public complains about the public. I like to say we have a step further we got the sporting public, and we get some Lulus. And that's what we call them, Lulus. And we have another expression, Jesus Christ, this guy went to Harvard. I mean, you can work a booth with everything in it, Giants or A's or whichever venue you're working, okay? The business has expanded so much with jackets, jerseys, sweatshirts. You just don't have the room anymore to carry other teams. So you carry just the Giants, just the A's in whichever particular venue you're working, or if it be the Niners. You don't carry all the other teams. Invariably at baseball, if you carry an autographed ball and the son of a gun is $12 or $15, people come up. They go, who signed the ball? Well, I mean, you look in the booth. Everything I got is San Francisco Giants, for Christ's sake. Why do they ask who signed the ball? So usually I say, oh, the Chicago Bears and John McEnroe from Wimbledon. What the fuck? The San Francisco Giants signed it, you Lulu. Okay, did they really sign it? Yeah, the team was up here today. I had to tell Will Clark, get back in line. You're over there screwing around. You know, you got to sign these baseballs before the gates open. It's done by a machine, Lulu, for $12. What'd you go to Harvard? Well, I use that expression quite a bit. Other vendors have gotten it, what have you. One day I'm at Giants. I'm working 125. Guy comes up, he orders quite a bit of stuff. I'm adding it up. You know, it's all up here. You don't go like this every time somebody orders something. We didn't scan then. I'm adding it all up, and I go, he goes, 133. I go, would you go to Harvard? And his wife goes, how'd you know?
Was he right?
Yeah, he was. I said, well, we have an expression. And I said I was being facetious, but yeah, he really went to Harvard and he was right on the money.
Wow.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah.
Well,
At Oakland, they had the sweatshirt. Today you have the Harvard sweatshirt. The guy
Oh, yeah.
did go to Harvard.
well, he's lucky that it was all tax-inclusive pricing. Otherwise, he'd have to do a little extra math there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so would we. And then we'd have to carry dimes, pennies, nickels, which that's what happened in Oakland. But we got used to that. That was no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned you fixing up Giambi with his current wife. What about? I mean, let's dig into that a little more. What about the other players' wives? Any other kind of?
Yeah, there was, God, what was the guy's name? The reliever. No, not Koch. I mean, that's the other one. Yeah, Ingerhausen. Yeah, one night we're pretty busy. We got a lot of player shirts. I mean, they had some ball players. Mm-hmm. So we carried a lot of shirts. And this very attractive young lady comes up and says, how come you don't have Ingerhausen shirt? Well, he was having a really poor year. I went, because he's playing like shit. She says, well, give me that and give me that. Pulls out her credit card. I go, okay. Ingerhausen. Well, there's not too many other people called Ingerhausen.
Not a common name.
Well, for the first time in my life, Josh, I was mute. I was so goddamn embarrassed. I had nothing to say. I could hardly say thank you when she signed it. Well, lo and behold, she tells her husband. I'm walking out, maybe a week, 7 games later, whatever. I'm going by where the players come out. Here comes Ingerhausen. He's got on a T-shirt and blue jeans. He's huge. He looks like a tight end. And his wife's there, and she goes, that's him, that's him. And he looks at me, and he goes, what the hell you want me to do?
He's like, yeah, I was having a terrible year.
That was the end of the story. Then another year, or what have you, another attractive one comes up to the booth. It's a cold night. Says, let me get a blanket. I get her the blanket. I said, wouldn't mind wrapping myself up with you on that. I thought she was flirting with me. She was smiling, no problem. Next day I come into work. It's one of the guys sitting that works upstairs, the guy who ended up with Trader Joe's. Colin, waiting for me. Hey, Jake. Yeah, what's up? He goes, did you have an interaction with a woman last night about a blanket? I go, what'd she do? Report me? He goes, well, that was Mr. Koch, the reliever. That was his wife, and they are not happy.
Oh,
You got to go see Alioto and Drew across the way. So I go out, I go over there. Alioto was running the show. I don't know if you knew him or not. He was one of the bosses, which is another side story. It's the vendors always made more than all the bosses we've ever had. And Alioto comes out. He actually comes into the office. He's laughing. And so that relieved the pressure. But he says, Koch wants to kick your ass. And he says, this one went all the way to Billy Bean. And Billy Bean, started laughing a little bit too. So he says, "You're all right, but just will you cool your mouth?" Yeah, it's just kind of my nature. I like to talk, and when I'm behind that booth, you kind of feel like you're king shit.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of in control of the situation. You can't let them control you.
Yeah.
And it's just something that came natural. Sometimes I would just go too far. And, of course, in my old age, I don't. But, of course, I don't have the fun I used to have either.
How long ago was that?
The only thing I say now is when the gal says, "Give me that sweatshirt." And I go, "What size?" She says, "Extra large." I go, "That one runs huge." She says, "I like them big." I go, "Well, they all do. That's why I'm alone, for Christ's sake." And they seem to enjoy that one. But you get the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, because how long ago was that you had that interaction?
With Koch?
Yeah.
Oh, many years ago.
Yeah.
Probably 15, 20 years ago.
Oh.
You'd have to look up when Koch played for the A's.
Yeah, because, I mean, now people have not as much of a sense of humor as they used to.
Oh, well, you have to be PC, politically correct.
Naturally.
You can't say act like a man, not like a faggot, you douchebag. Can't do that anymore.
No, they frown on that.
Yeah, they do. They tend to frown on that. Yeah, I mean, and we actually have a serious prejudicial deal in the vending business. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if I can say it here because it's not politically correct, and it will upset a lot of people.
No.
But we do not care for Asians in our business. Asian females especially, but men as well. I have nothing against them in general. I'm an open-minded liberal, but in all honesty, you can go to any vendor, conservative, liberal, in the middle, and ask them about their interactions with Asians.
Really?
They're extremely particular. Again, when you're talking about something of this nature, it's a generality.
Sure.
But it's a known thing in our business. Afterwards we're talking amongst us. "Oh, I had this goddamn Asian broad, man. She wanted to look at 6 hats. They were $20 each. She spent 15 minutes. She finally says, 'Give me one, but give me the second one. I don't want the one in front.'"
Why would you not? Just because she thinks there's extra dust on it?
Other people have tried it on or handled it.
Huh. I guess.
So at that point, you're fine. Yeah, here's the hat. See you later.
Yeah.
But
weird.
That does exist.
Yeah, I guess you never really kind of think about that, right? Because that one hat on the front, maybe people have tried it on, maybe not. But I don't really. People don't really try on the hats. I mean, it's like a hat is a hat at this point, right? Unless it's fitting.
No, they try them on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You get these macho guys with the tattoos, pretty boys, and I don't mean that they're gay or not. Nothing to do with that. But you can tell the way they're dressed and
Deeply attractive men.
Well, they're attractive and they're neat and stuff, but they got their tats, and they're into these hats. These macho guys. I mean,
yeah.
So.
Well, you'll never see me wearing a hat.
Well, you got a nice head of hair there, young man.
Ah, you're too kind.
Yeah.
You're too kind.
Well, you're director there. You're the producer. This is doing good.
Yeah? You like it? I thought you might.
Yeah, I got the director and producer mixed up.
I asked Bob, I was like, are the cans going to do it? Are these going to be okay? And he's like, oh, yeah, he'll drink anything.
I like martini.
Yeah?
But of late, I've stopped drinking them pretty much, except when I'm in a social gathering or out for dinner.
We'll call this a social gathering.
Yeah, it is.
We're being social. We're gathered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm having a little alcohol, and it hits me.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It's Sunday,
Is it really? Beautiful.
Or who knows? Maybe when we air this, it'll be Wednesday. You never know.
Not. I hope not.
Day off for us right now.
But yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a story. That
Which one?
the blanket one.
Ingerhausen wasn't bad.
That's some balls.
And then they got rid of each one of them. Ingerhausen and Koch, they said, they got rid of Ingerhausen and Koch, but Jake's still here. I used to have credit card. I hated it when we went from cash to credit card machines and having these cash registers. And I was like old school. I go, give them a receipt. The hell with receipt. We don't give receipts. The guy who ran it, Drew Bruno, who was below Alioto, was Alioto's boy. He said, Jake, you got your credit card machine. Your receipts are going all the way into the men's room, for Christ's sake. Will you give out a receipt?
Yeah, that long ribbon, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys had the little tiny credit card machines at first, right? Then you had cash registers and the computers that I, of course, had to set up and everything like
I
that.
really don't even remember the chronology of it all. I do remember going with my partner, a gentleman named Rick Brandt, and Don Golke and John Calero. The four of us, we had the two main booths. This was before there were stores at the Coliseum. We had the booth. And we had to go to a meeting with Wells Fargo to learn how to use a credit card machine. And I couldn't tell you the exact year, but that was obviously previous to that. We dealt in cash. Mm-hmm. We didn't take credit cards. You know, Don did with a slider.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you use those slider things.
I have at times, yes, but we moved on, and I do remember going to a meeting with Wells Fargo to learn how to use a machine. Now, obviously, it's we take in most of our money as credit, and since COVID, it's all credit.
Sure.
So
that's league wide, or is that just so far in the Bay?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know what happens all over. It's just like I don't understand if commercials are local or if they're go all over the nation.
True. Well, Bob, it's been real. Cheers.
Good.
Thanks for coming by.
Oh, my pleasure.
We'll have to have you on sometime soon.
Bob will have you on?
We'll have to have you on again sometime soon.
Oh,
I could see it in the near future.
in the near future?
In the very near future. He'll be back.
We'll see.
All right, guys. See ya.